It began quietly in a hospital room lit by the soft glow of evening. A nurse leaned close and whispered that Hollywood's golden rebel had asked for her mirror. Anne Francis, once the luminous star of Forbidden Planet, now fragile and pale, lifted the glass to her face. For a brief moment she smiled calmly, knowing Leah as though meeting an old friend. That reflection, still beautiful but marked by time, told the story of a woman who had loved deeply, fought silently, and carried herself with a grace that few ever truly saw. But how did this magnetic woman, who once ruled the screen with such power and confidence, come to spend her final days in such quiet reflection? To understand that, we need to return to the beginning, to the girl who refused to live an ordinary life. Her journey began in Ossining, New York, where she was born Anne Lloyd Francis in 1930. The Great Depression had left its mark on nearly every family, but Anne's spirit was different. With her bright blue eyes and golden curls, she seemed destined for something greater. By the time she was 6, she was already modeling, her face appearing in department store catalogs, her mother kept tucked away with pride. Acting followed soon after, and by her teenage years, she was performing on Broadway. Even then, Anne stood out not just for her looks, but for her intelligence and determination. She wasn't content with being the pretty face. She wanted to be remembered for her strength. Hollywood soon took notice. MGM signed her in the 1940s, offering her roles that showcased her wholesome beauty. But Anne had no intention of blending into the background. She worked relentlessly, perfecting her craft and fighting for parts that carried meaning. Her breakout came in 1956 with Forbidden Planet, the groundbreaking sci-fi classic that catapulted her to international fame. As Altara, the only woman in a world of men, she was ethereal yet strong, embodying innocence and allure in equal measure. Beneath the shimmering gowns and futuristic backdrops, Anne infused the role with intelligence, making even the most fantastical story feel human. But behind the spotlight, fame brought its own kind of isolation. "It's like being the only woman at a crowded party," she once said. "Everyone wants you, but no one truly knows you." Her first marriage to actor Bamlett Price Jr. ended quickly under the pressures of her rising career. Her second marriage to Dr. Robert Abloff brought stability and her beloved daughter, Jane. For a time she balanced motherhood and stardom with grace, often bringing Jane to film sets. She wanted her daughter to grow up knowing that women could be both compassionate and ambitious, nurturing and independent. Then came a turning point that would define her legacy. In 1965, Anne became the star of Honey West, the first American TV series to feature a female private detective as the lead. With her sharp wit, short blonde hair, and signature black outfits, she became a symbol of empowerment on screen. Honey West was fearless, clever, and unapologetically in control, a reflection of Anne herself. The show earned her a Golden Globe and solidified her place in television history. But just as quickly as it rose, it ended. Studio politics and behind-the-scenes conflicts brought the series to an abrupt halt. For Anne, it was a painful reminder that even trailblazing women could be pushed aside as Hollywood evolved in the 1970s and 80s. The industry's fascination with youth left many veterans struggling for relevance. Anne adapted, transitioning into guest roles on shows like The Twilight Zone, Mission Impossible, and Dallas. Even in smaller parts, her performances carried depth and poise. But off-screen, her life was far from easy. After another divorce, she raised her daughter largely on her own. Through it all, she found solace in reflection and spirituality. She studied metaphysics, wrote about inner strength, and eventually became an ordained minister, helping others find purpose in their own journeys. Away from the cameras, Anne found a kind of peace that fame could never give her. By the 1990s, Anne had become something of a Hollywood enigma. Fans remembered the radiant blonde from Forbidden Planet, but few recognized the thoughtful, introspective woman she had become. She often spoke about forgiveness, karma, and the lessons life teaches through pain. "Every scar has a story," she once said. "If you listen, it'll teach you something." Friends described her as serene and radiant, her beauty now softened by wisdom. In candid photos from those later years, she's seen laughing with her daughter, her eyes bright with gratitude rather than ambition. Then came the final challenge. In 2007, Anne was diagnosed with lung cancer. She faced it with the same quiet courage she had shown all her life. Instead of hiding her illness, she spoke openly about it, hoping her story might encourage others to live without fear. Even as her body weakened, her spirit never did. "I've had a wonderful run," she told a close friend. "I've loved, I've learned, I've lived." In her final months, she surrounded herself with family, especially Jane. Her days were simple, filled with love, laughter, and the small joys that once got lost in the rush of stardom. When Anne Francis passed away in 2011, the world didn't just lose a Hollywood beauty, it lost a pioneer. She had broken barriers, challenged expectations, and inspired generations of women to be bold and self-assured. While most remembered her for her stunning looks and iconic roles, Those who knew her best saw a woman of depth, compassion, and resilience, and perhaps that's why her most personal photos feel so powerful. They capture the real Anne, the mother, the dreamer, the seeker, the woman who faced life head-on with elegance and authenticity. In those final images, her beauty feels even more profound. Not because of how she looked, but because of the strength that still shone through her eyes. So the next time you watch Forbidden Planet or catch a glimpse of that confident, Honey West stance, remember the woman behind the image, the little girl from Ossining who refused to be ordinary, and the woman who lived with purpose until the very end. Anne Francis wasn't just a star. She was a quiet revolution, a force of grace, wrapped in gold. If her story inspired you, if her journey made you feel something real, take a moment to celebrate her legacy. Like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more untold stories of Hollywood's brightest legends. Because behind every glamorous photo lies a story worth remembering.